Hello, I'm Aiden, and I'm the driver.
I'm Nathaniel, and I'm the drive coach.
I'm Austin, and I'm the operator.
And today we're going to be looking at our match videos for our second meet and kind of going through them and seeing the lessons that we learned and how we can improve for our next meet. So, welcome to... So going into this match, we were hoping to win. We were paired with a really good team, and so we were hoping to be able to score as many points as we could. Unfortunately, as you'll see later on, that did not happen. But we started off really strong with our autonomous.
Yeah, so our autonomous strategy changed since last meet. So for this strategy, we wanted to fully maximize our capabilities with the turntable. So what we did was we parked in between the cone stack.
But we got that figured out by our layered matches. Alright, so here we're going over to collect our first cone, and then right after this, back here.
So before the match, we were at the practice field, and the Velcro strap that was used to keep our battery in the battery holder fell off, and due to communication errors, it wasn't 100% fixed, which is why the battery fell out, as you can see there. So communicating with the rest of your team is really important. Not just like the drive coach and the driver and the operator, but throughout everything, including the robot.
Yeah, so that was primarily my bad. I should have checked in with him afterwards as a drive coach to make sure that that was fixed. Something that we would really suggest going into league meets especially and then further on is to make a pre-match checklist to make sure that everything on your robot, all the screws are tightened, everything is working before you going into the match, before even putting the robot on the field. Alright, here is our second match. So this one went much better than our first one, obviously.
We fixed the battery issue after.
Right, yeah. So right after that match, we went back to our pits and secured that and had multiple fail-safes to make sure the battery doesn't fall out again. So here you can see our autonomous working pretty well perfectly, which was very exciting. And then
We attempted to park.
I don't think it was fully in though.
Okay, so right there, the lift was having a little bit of issues.
And my driving controls were a bit delayed, so we stopped the teleop on our system and then we turned it back on. And then everything worked properly.
Yeah, so after the meet, we kind of went over the data from all the matches and saw kind of what took the most time and what we need to improve for our next meet. And so we figured out that just kind of stopping the robot and restarting it to fix that headings and stuff, that took a total of like 40 seconds throughout all of our matches. So we figured out that that is something that we definitely need to improve for our next meet.
So here our strategy was to just cycle on high. We talked with the other team before this match, and we decided that for us to just cycle on high, and for them to put cones on as many junctions as they could, but primarily trying to go for a circuit.
So we figured out that the way that we could score the most points most quickly is just by going back and forth between the high junction and collecting and scoring off that side, not even using our turntable much at all other than for the fine positioning. And so it was really important that our alliance partner could kind of stay out of our way as much as possible so that we could score as many points as possible and they could score as many points to own all the junctions. Here you can see the opposing alliance try to put a cone on that little junction, the ground junction, to possibly get us a penalty. That didn't work. We were able to avoid that pretty easily. That is something that your team needs to be aware of, is to be able to go around that ground junction.
Right here, we stopped the opposing alliance from completing a circuit. So we plan to cycle on the high, as we said, and stop any circuits.
And then here, while we were capping, there's a rule where we can't score our beacon and our cone at the same time with just our collection system touching one of them. So we got a major penalty because of that.
Yeah, so that was an error on the part of our human player. We had practiced with that going up to this meet, but then at the meet we found out that that would be illegal. So it was just something that was so ingrained in our human player's mind that he was just so used to it. But we fix that for our coming matches.
Same with Aiden and I. I was so used to doing it that I didn't think about it. I just clicked and picked it up. I didn't have to score it. That wouldn't have been a penalty if we hadn't scored it. But just muscle memory kind of kicked in.
This is our third match. This time we're on the Red Alliance, and we are doing the same autonomous, which is putting one on the low.
Here we made sure that we had extra time to park, but I don't think we were still fully in, so that didn't count.
This strategy is where we would basically cycle on the high junction, and our alliance partner will be attempting the circuit.
So this was the same strategy as the last match.
And you can see here, there was a little bit of miscommunication before the match, I guess, on which way our alliance partner should collect. So we had tried to say that we would like to just completely stay on the right side of the substation, and then our alliance partner would score or collect from the other side. I guess that wasn't communicated as clearly as it should have been. And so here we tried to compensate and go to the other side while our alliance partner was on that side of the substation.
Here, because of the miscommunications, we switched side of the substations, so we weren't in each other's way.
That did take a little bit of time away from our cycles, though.
Here we switch back to the correct side of the substation.
And with 20 seconds left, we tried to score the beacon to prevent the opposing alliance from completing their circuit. So we went to the high junction on the right side before looking at the field from the Red Alliance. And that was successful in preventing them from completing their circuit.
Alright, so before the match started, we talked with our alliance partner, and their lift had broken the previous match. So our strategy was the same, was to just cycle on high, and their strategy was to put cones on the opposing alliance's ground junctions to play more defense and to make it harder for them to cycle.
And our plan is just to cycle in the high junction again.
Alright, here our robot disconnected, which caused issues with our lift. So later on you'll see when we collect, we have to raise the lift to lower back down and collect. We aren't currently sure why this is happening. However, we have plans to troubleshoot it and fix that issue.
So this match we want to go back to using our human player, because we learned that we just work best with our human player.
So our human player practiced with us when we were doing drive practice, and we were able to get multiple hours of drive practice in before this thingy. So he practiced with us through all of that, and he was more experienced, and he was very comfortable with being the human player.
So as your team gets drive practice, try and make sure that you have the human player that you'll be using in competition if possible, to be able to get as much practice as possible. So as the 30-second mark approaches, I, as the coach, wanted to be watching very carefully to see if the opposing alliance was completing a circuit or was close at all. And then we would try to prevent that by putting our cone on top of the junction that would prevent them most easily.
We had issues with aligning to collect for the beacon, again due to the lift being a bit off, and our beacon we need to be aligned more on top of it with our grabber than we do with the normal cone.
In there, I attempted to go park after we scored the beacon, but unfortunately, our alliance partner, while trying to cap their beacon on a ground junction, I ran into them, and then they got stuck, and we got stuck. On to our final match.
All right, so going into this match, we talked to our alliance partner, and it was really nice because they were able to collect off of the stacked cones, which we were not able to do. So we were able to just go to the substation, and they were only going on the stacked cones until they had used all of those. So we were able to completely stay out of each other's way in the teleop period. In autonomous, you can see the turntable turned a little bit too far and was not able to collect any of the stacked cones or score them.
So right here again we have the same strategy, just cycle on the high, since our alliance partner will be collecting from the stack cones. We don't have to worry about getting in each other's way, and we chose the left side because their auto was better than the right side.
Yeah, so through all of the drive practice that we did, going up to this second meet, we tried doing circuits and we tried just cycling on the high. We tried doing lots of different strategies, but we figured out that just cycling under the high was by far the most points and the most consistent. Because if we were to do a circuit, sometimes we could outscore just cycling, but it was not at all consistent on our part or on the opposing alliance's part, because they can prevent that from happening pretty easily.
Focusing on repetition and muscle memory was what we opted to go for.
Here, our alliance partners got stuck on the ground junction, and we attempted to try to help them off of it by ramming into them. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and they were stuck there for the rest of the match.
Yeah, they told us right as they got stuck that they would like us to push them off, but we weren't able to, then just to keep cycle so that we could score the most points.
Here, yet again, Nathaniel, as the coach, suggested for us to put the beacon on the low junction farthest away from us to stop their circuit. So we did that, and then we were able to almost get another cone on a different high junction.
Yeah, looking back as a coach, I should have just directed them to either the close low junction or the close high junction, because that would have been much faster for them and we could have guaranteed those points. But I just really wanted to make sure that there was no way that they could complete the circuit. All right, so like I said before, after each meet, we try and do data to see how we need to improve before our next one. So looking at the data from this one, we scored an average of 17.75 points in the autonomous period. That is much higher up than it was at our first meet, when our average was 0.8 points. So we did far better.
In teleop, we took 2.99 seconds collecting cones on average. From meet 1, it took us 59 seconds each time, which is terrible. And it took us 4.43 seconds cycle time on high junctions. We don't have data from previous meet. 1.85 seconds delivering cones. From meet 1, it took us 30 seconds. Yet again, we improved drastically. In total, it took us 157 seconds driving, 75.63 seconds collecting cones. The first meet, it took 295 seconds, 48.3 seconds delivering cones. It took us 154 from meet 1 as well.
It took us 40.4 seconds to reset the robot when it happened those 2 times. We scored 227 out of 363 points scored by our alliance, which means we scored 62.5% of our alliance's points. Meet 1 was 45%, so that is a 15.5% increase. Our personal average score was 56.75 points for the first meet, and our average for the last meet was 30.6.
So as you can see, going over this data after each meet is very helpful. Seeing how you can improve and just getting as much drive practice between the meets as possible is very, very good. Especially between the first and second meets, not focusing on making big drastic robot changes, but just having your driver and operator and coach and human player if possible, just getting as much practice as possible doing their jobs.
Going over this data for the past 2 meets, we realized how long it takes us for it to collect and deliver. So we are currently designing a new collection system for our robot.
Top secret. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you were able to learn a little something and see how we were able to improve from our first meet to our second meet. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel, and be watching for our next videos. Thanks for watching.